January's numbers came. The sky was falling. 12% down for Lafayette Parish for the real estate market over in Lafayette Parish. Man, everything's falling apart. Well, guess what? Not the case. February's numbers are in. We are going to jump right in. Hey, it's Robbie Bro with Robbie Bro and team here at The Real Broker. And I wanted to go and jump in and kind of give you guys an insight, peek behind the curtain of what's going on inside the real estate market for Lafayette Parish. So let me go and pull up our screen real quick. Bear with me. So what do sales look like? February 2024, we had 19 up. We had 9. That's all of MLS. We want to go and jump that into Lafayette Parish. We'll get in there, Lafayette County, the last year. 210 homes closed in February of 2024. 220 homes sold in February of 2025. Difference of 3.8%. Year to date, down 4%. So we went from 12% down to 4%, all in one fell swoop. But if you can see, this year from January, we went from 169 homes all the way up to 220 homes. That equates to almost 30% increase in the total number of sales that ended up popping up. So in one fell swoop, we end up knocking out most of the deficit that we were in from the previous years. So what does dollar volume happen to look like? When we're taking a look at dollar volume, we were at 58.7 million in 2024, 61.4 million for 2025. That is an increase of 4.5%. Year to date, down just under 3%. What does that look like compared to last month? We had a 24% increase from 49 million to 61 million. 24% increase. Again, we are moving in the right direction. You could see January to February had a little bit smaller of an increase in the total dollar volume in between. We had the ones that we did sell, even though we only sold a handful more than we did this time last year, they sold for much more money, which means we ended up selling more expensive homes this past February. Now, what does it take? What does it look like as far as what are the indicators coming on for new homes coming on the market? We need to know what the supply happens to look like. We saw 335 homes come onto the market in February 2025, 363 homes come on in 2024. That's a decrease of 10%. So our supply is dropping. What does that look like compared to, and we're actually down 4% year to date. So we saw an increase from January to February. We saw a decrease from January to February, from January to 24 to 25. So they're moving in a little bit opposite directions, but our supply is going down, which means, if you want to see an increase of activity and potential things for prices to come up, our demand has to go up. Well, if you look at the graph right here, December, January, February, we saw a pretty massive increase. And if you take a look at the pending sales, 316 homes is more than any other month that we had inside Lafayette Parish all year. Now, typically springtime is our busy season. Well, apparently not. February 2025, this is what our numbers happen to look like. So 275 compared to 316, that is an increase of 17%. So we're up 9.5% year to date on the total number of pending contracts moving forward. What that tells me is potentially we're going to be looking in. What that tells me is we're going to potentially be looking into an increased market. Tentatively speaking, if we got sales coming down and pendings going up, we actually saw 4% decrease in the total number of homes, and on the pendings we saw a 10% increase in the total number of pending contracts with our buyer seller had a meeting of the mind. So that's a 15% spread. Things are looking on the up and up. So if we had a record number of pendings, that means closed sales for March should be better than what they were this time last year for March. So good things moving on. Average sales price. What did average sales price end up looking like? Let us pull up average sales price. Here we go. These kind of jump up all over the place. So 280, and 279.5. So a difference of about $500, basically flat. There's not a whole lot of movement on that sales price. A lot of this stuff comes up and down. Remember, we're comparing month to month, August to August, January to January, February to February. So that's kind of where that data ends up being 325, 285 compared to 291. We were looking at about 3.5% increase on there. This is about a half a point difference between the two. So what does homes for sale happen to look like? This is another one that we've always kind of tracked whenever we're taking. This is the total number of supply. We had about 1,000 homes, a little over 1,000 homes in January, 1,074. You could see the number of available homes actually dropped from 1,265. They dropped down to 1,186. So 1,186 to 1,074. We had a little bit of an increase compared to this time last year, but it's moving down, which means there's fewer things for the buyers to be able to go out and choose. So we're slowly creeping into knocking out some of that inventory. Days on market, however, are actually starting to increase. We are up right at 2 weeks. We were 81 days on market from 0 to 1 million plus inside Lafayette Parish. That is that is up from 68 days that have been on the market. Our mortgages have been all over the map. We've seen 7, we've seen 6, 6.6. We've been hanging tight, 6.7, 6.875 on a 30-year fixed, about a half point lower for your government, your FHA, your rural development, VA, et cetera. And again, that's been jumping up and down. So no real signs of anything kind of falling down that much lower, at least for the time being. It could be another few months before we see some activity to be able to go and push that down, but stay tuned. There's a lot of movement going on inside the market. I will tell you, if you're a buyer and you're looking at the possibility to purchase in your home, we are still seeing a decent amount of movement off of sellers wiggling off the price, because there is that feeling of the upper interest rates and things may not change. So we're getting a little bit more wiggle room and negotiating room off the sellers. I can tell you, if we saw interest rates dropping and our pending sales continue to go up and our supplies continue to come down, that negotiation room is going to disappear. So make sure, if you're out on the fences, you're thinking about what that happens to look like, or if you kind of want to have an idea what your equity position happens to look like, you can always give me a shout on my personal cell, 337-658-5690. I'd love to hear from you. As always, for the monthly market update, we will see you next month.